Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and today we're continuing our Fall of the Han lore series with episode 9, titled A Rushed Rebellion. So we ended our last episode with a little bit of a cliffhanger, as Zhang Jiao and his followers made their final preparations in the winter season of 183. And as we mentioned before, 183 was a very eventful year, filled with natural disasters as severe droughts in the summer caused a widespread famine in the autumn, only to be followed up by a brutally cold winter that saw even some deep wells freeze over. These natural events were seen by the followers of Taiping Dao as a sign of the end of the Han dynasty, and many took to the streets in their hometowns throughout China that winter to paint the word 甲子 over the doors of government offices in the forms of graffiti to protest against the corrupt government and signal the end was near. At the same time, Zhang Jiao had already recalled Ma Yuanyi from the southern provinces, as tens of thousands of battle-ready members now traveled north in secrecy to amass in the ancient capital city of Ye to prepare for their final assault on the capital of Luoyang on March 5th, 184. Now, Zhang Jiao picked the city of Ye to amass most of his men because 1. There was slightly less defense and attention there compared to the capital of Luoyang, and 2. The city of Ye was the key southern stronghold for the entire north. To its southeast, the mighty Yellow River flows as a natural defensive barrier, and to the northwest, the mighty Taihang mountain ranges provide a strategic natural defense as well. And lastly, add on the fact that Zhang Jiao's base of operation in Julu is only slightly north of Ye. This makes holding Ye pivotal for their personal safety after the start of the rebellion. Now, it's a shame that in the game Total War 3 Kingdoms, we don't have any gate battles or key defensive positions on the map, because Ye in the game is super easy to take, and the mighty Yellow River is more like a highway for anyone to use to flank you. But CA has confirmed that gate battles will eventually make its way into the game sometime later this year, so hopefully we have something to look forward to soon. But now back to our story. As Ma Yuanyi finished his mission in Ye, and he departed for the capital to organize the Taiping Dao followers there that will eventually kick off the rebellion on March 5th. But on February 15, less than 3 weeks from the Jiazi date, Tang Zhou, who had been in charge of bribing court officials, betrayed Zhang Jiao for unknown reasons and shared the detailed plans of the rebellion to the imperial court. Immediately, the imperial city was shut down, as He Jin, who was just an administrative official in the capital at this time, was quickly summoned to the palace and immediately promoted as the new Grand Commandant. The emperor then entrusted the command of the 5,000 elite imperial guards to He Jin, who he had trusted because he was the older brother to Empress He, and He Jin was immediately sent out to capture Ma Yuanyi, who is seen as the figurehead in the Luoyang region at the time. Despite Ma Yuanyi's attempt to escape, he was captured not far away from the capital and brought back for a quick trial and sentencing. And his sentence would be the famed 车裂, or a type of execution where 5 horses are chained to your 4 limbs and head, and then the horses are beat so they run off in 5 different directions, tearing your body apart limb by limb until you die. This is also the reason why Ma Yuanyi had the unique background of hippophobe, or the fear of horses in the game. Then, very quickly, over 1,000 known Taiping Dao followers, including some officials, were also arrested and executed in the capital, and arrest warrants were sent out to Julu to arrest Zhang Jiao and his followers. And when this news finally reached Zhang Jiao, he quickly sent out riders to inform his followers throughout the country to launch the rebellion now. And immediately, rebels wearing yellow turbans started their uprising in 8 of the 13 provinces, and many Han forces were quickly overwhelmed, as most of these interior commanderies had very small garrisons and were not prepared for such a massive incursion. Now, before we go over all the initial Yellow Turban successes, we need to take a second and talk about their choice of headgear, which will eventually become what they're collectively known as. Now, there are many reasons behind this choice of Yellow Turban, but the most obvious reason is that they are cheap. Hats are for rich people, even in those days. And even though I'm sure everyone would prefer to wear metal helmets as they were fighting for their lives, They simply did not have the financial means when some of them were going to battle with pitchforks and hoes. And to look like an organized force, you need matching color attires. So using turbans was an easy choice here. But the question is, why did they pick yellow? Now, the rationale behind this is based on the 5 elements. Behind the teachings of Taiping Dao, and in the minds of most people, the Han Dynasty was represented by the element of fire. And the natural element to succeed fire is earth, as after the fire burns down the forest, all there's left is earth. So 火生土. So earth is the symbol for the Yellow Turbans as they hope to replace the Han Dynasty, and the color yellow, which represent earth, is thus picked as the color of their headgear. So these yellow turban wearing rebels started to attack everywhere, and they had great success right off the bat. To the south of the capital, Yellow Turban forces led by Zhang Mancheng took the city of Wancheng and killed Chu Gong, who was the administrator of the entire Nanyang commandery. And in Inchuan, Bo Cai crushed the first response team of the Han army led by Zhu Jun and surrounded Zhu Jun's encampment. Farther south, Peng Tuo beat back Runan's administrator in their first encounter, while many other rallied in the Yang province farther down south as rebel forces burned down government offices and looted local treasuries. With all 3 neighboring commanderies to the south and east losing to the Yellow Turban forces, the emperor grew increasingly nervous, since the real threat was actually farther to the north as Zhang Jiao, Zhang Liang, and Zhang Bao's forces ravaged the north, while bandits from the Black Mountain and the White Wave valleys also rallied themselves to the Yellow Turban banner. Farther west, in the Yi province, the 5 pecks of rice sect of Taoism, led by Zhang Xiu at this time, also rallied to the Yellow Turban cause and pillaged the land of Shu, while out east, around the Qing province, commanderies like Dong and Beihai were constantly being put under siege by the Yellow Turban forces as well. So at this critical juncture, the greedy emperor did the unthinkable, as he emptied his own private treasury to recruit new armies to beat back the rebels. Lu Zhi was sent north, while Zhu Jun and Huang Fusong were sent south. And even for scholars who were punished during the party incident were pardoned and reused by the government, and regional administrators were granted the permission to conscript new militia forces to help bolster their defenses. Now, the details of these Han response and the effects of the counterattack will be covered in tomorrow's episode, as we'll spend a full episode talking about how this short-lived rebellion ended, and some of the more long-lasting impacts of the rebellion had on ending the Han dynasty. But for the rest of this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about historical what-ifs, since I have seen a lot of comments from our last episode about what might have happened if the rebellion had gone completely to plan. And although there is no what-ifs in life and in history, I want to offer my thoughts about what I think would have happened if Tang Zhou did not betray Taiping Dao, and Ma Yuanyi had actually been able to kill the emperor on March 5th according to their plan. So in this ideal scenario, where the Yellow Turban executes their strategy perfectly and kill off the emperor and his relatives inside the imperial palace, rallying the rebels throughout China in 8 provinces, and declaring themselves a new dynasty under the yellow sky with the new leadership of Zhang Jiao, who also does not die in 6 months' time because he does not get sick from being put under siege, then in this ideal situation, I still think the Han dynasty will survive, because you still had regional powers like Liu Chong, Liu Yu, Liu Hong, Liu Yao, and Liu Yan, who not only had sizable forces capable of defending their own land, but also the bloodline for others loyal to the Han to rally behind. And this sense of loyalty and belonging to the dynasty is a very difficult thing to explain. The best analogy I have is that even though the Han government is corrupt, the emperor is less than ideal, the eunuchs are abusing their power, and the scholars from powerful clans are all suffering from the party incident, almost everyone still wanted to fix the Han dynasty, as if it's their own sick kid. And no matter how great or pretty the Yellow Turban ideas sound, they will always be someone else's kid. Now, we talked about Taoism a little bit when we were covering the Yellow Turbans, but what's more important here was the mainstream government embrace philosophy of Confucianism, and the concept of 忠孝 is one of the most central ideas of Confucianism teaching at the time. 忠 means loyalty, 孝 means filial piety, or the respect and care one shows to one's parent. And the fundamental idea of how to run a country is that a country is made up of many, many households. And if every member can be respectful to the elders within your own households and also be loyal to the country that your household is a part of, then the country will run fine. And this idea of 忠孝 is so deeply ingrained in the Chinese thought process that explains why someone like Cao Cao would never declare himself emperor, out of fear that the whole country will oppose him if he does. And it is also for this exact reason that people like Xun Yu, who is such a valued strategist and friend of Cao Cao, would even come out to openly oppose him when Cao Cao wanted to give himself the rank of duke. So that's why the DLC is very aptly named, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the idea of mandate of heaven, which is not a blessing you receive from the god or a right that's given to you because you have the imperial seal, but rather a recognition from the people. Or else, how could a humble shoemaker like Liu Bei end up attracting so much talent to allow himself to rise through all this chaos to create the Shu Han government as the extension of the Han dynasty? So I'm certain that even if the rebel have gone according to plan and took the capital and more than 50 counties like the mandate of heaven win condition for the Yellow Turban factions, those loyal to the Han would have rallied back. The sad fact is, the recognition of the people, or the so-called mandate of heaven, have never really been about the farmers or the peasants, for it is the heart and the minds of the scholars and powerful clans that you need to legitimize your rule. So even if Zhang Jiao was able to rule fairly and justly, he would always be someone else's kid. So that's our episode. Hope you enjoy it, and see you all next time. Bye!